Adam Kamens, and I thought it'd be fun to share around our home in New York. Give us a chance to highlight some of the materials, some of the finishes, and design solutions we came up with. So when we first got the apartment, what we were struck by was how much natural light there was, and your eye was immediately drawn outside of the unit. So when we were thinking about what the entryway would feel like, we really wanted to have the same effect that you would get from antique mirror, a high reflective surface that would reflect the natural light. And every individual hole, crevice, detail was machined. We chose 3 different depths. So we took the pattern from the natural concrete and chose a depth for each of these different areas so that you had enough variation across the pattern and across the surface without it feeling too formulaic. When we first got the unit, this was one big room. The walls didn't exist here. There were no doors to close it off. And it was sort of an oddly proportioned space. The need to come up with doors that could pocket into these walls drove one of the designs I'm really excited about. We have these large solid bronze pocket doors. Give us what we wanted visually and acoustically, but also give us a chance to come up with a new hardware design and door design that we could offer. We end up leaving these oftentimes sort of partially open because they become just these sculptural moments that actually help to frame the space even better. This is actually one of Amuneal's standard products. This is our loft shelving system, and it's the only product that's here that exists in a form that wasn't influenced by the apartment. So this is a very long unit, about 14 feet long. It has our integrated lights built into it, again, because we had a lot of trouble getting electric to where we wanted it in the unit. And also there was no other storage space in the room. So this becomes the primary storage for games, blankets, remote controls, all things you don't want to see out all the time. From the first time we saw the space, we knew this was going to be a bit of a challenge in this room. It felt very narrow and long when you walked into it. There was no definition in the ceiling. There were no lights in the ceiling. So it was great and bright during the day, and at night it was very dark and long and narrow. In the end, we came up with a design solution that I'm really proud of by putting these beams up against the ceiling that is really just a painted underside of the concrete slab. The beams allowed us to both run all of our wiring for lighting and for speakers, but it also allowed us to create a rhythm and sort of zones within the room. One of the things that developed for us as we were walking through the design process was the realization that this room could really have 2 purposes. So its primary function is as a den. It's a place to come in, have a little bit of quiet time, close off from other things maybe going on in the apartment, read a book, watch a show. But we also wanted it to function as a 4th bedroom for us. And we have the ability with one of our Murphy beds that eventually will live here to actually turn this into a 4th bedroom ensuite. So it put a little bit of pressure on us to figure out how to take this bathroom that's in the den and make it feel appropriate as a powder room when we have guests that are staying here, for dinner and that sort of thing, and then change into more of an ensuite bathroom for friends that are staying overnight or for the weekend. Because this was our apartment, we got to experiment with things that we hadn't been able to talk some of our clients into. One of them is in this shower enclosure here. This is in a bathroom off of the den that needed to serve both as a powder room, but when we have guests that are staying for longer periods of time, we wanted to be able to use this as an ensuite. So we came up with this idea to laminate an antique clear glass to two-way mirror. And the two-way mirror acts differently when there's light behind it and when there isn't. So what you see now is the high reflectivity of the mirror really reflecting back everything else that's in the bathroom. When I turn the light on inside of the shower, all of a sudden now the reflectivity goes away and you see inside the space. One of the challenges we had is that the shape of the building is based on a crystal. So when it gets up to our unit, the walls aren't actually straight. They're canting into one another. The columns that support the building are also canting. So this isn't a situation where we're able to use the same solid that we had with the beams in the den, but this time it seemed like we had to come up with an abstracted pattern, something that would not try to make sense of the shape of the building, the shape of the room, but actually play with it. So here we actually wrapped the columns in the beams and then did a asymmetrical design and followed that with the lighting as well. And it really sort of becomes very noticeable here because the lights are adorned with these sort of little jewelry bezels that we made that have them stand out. One of the other sort of odd, unexpected features in this space is that every room has its own HVAC unit, sometimes more than one. So before we did our renovations, you could clearly see where they were in each space, and it just was a distraction. So we used this element throughout the space. It's a walnut slatted wall and a gunmetal frame. But what it gave us is the ability to sort of hide the HVAC registers and access to the air conditioning in plain sight. So we took this sort of detracting moment and used it to add texture and rhythm to the space, but also kept the functionality that we needed. The first product we ever introduced was our collector shelving unit, and it really feels suiting that it's here in this middle of the design. But this version is different than what we've done before. We really wanted to strip this down and have it feel light and floating above the counter. So the way we accomplished that was by reducing the number of horizontal members that would typically be part of the design. So we have lights in here that are helping to illuminate the countertop, and they run front to back of the units as opposed to across the front of them. This actually was the model unit for the building, and we were the last apartment to close. So when we got the space, it had the same kitchen that every other unit in the building had. And it was surprisingly small, had a big stone island, but everything else was back painted white glass. So it was really meant to recede in the space, really not to detract or anything from the view. And after living here for a bit, we realized that we really needed to make this a much more important kitchen moment. And then there were some functional requirements as well. We needed to have storage that we really didn't have, and we really wanted to highlight our capabilities as Amuneal in designing and developing a kitchen for this space. In the original design, this was just an HVAC wall with a unit behind. Because we wanted to camouflage it, make it part of the kitchen, we decided to use the same design we would use for our refrigerator and freezer door panels, but in this case, we actually let the perforated material do what it's supposed to do and allows airflow. So while it's not a part of the kitchen in terms of being an appliance, visually it really helps to anchor the space. But one of the things that RJ, who worked with us on the design, came up with early on was this idea that the kitchen had to go all the way across the space, so that all the materials, all the finishes had to really own this whole back wall. In the back side of the kitchen are the only faces that we have that don't actually have hardware integrated into them. They actually are their own pulls. They're these knife edge pulls, because we really wanted a simple palette to showcase our ombre finish. And that same ombre is carried over onto the panels below the island that you see when you're approaching the island, sitting at the dinner table or resting on the couch. In the center of the kitchen is this large island, and this island had to give us both the functional space that we needed, but also had to act to ground the design. It's what you see when you walk in the apartment is this waterfall edge, and that texture wraps up and carries around the whole island. The materials that we used really in most of the space, but certainly in all of the kitchen, we have one finish on the metal, which is this new bronze finish that we introduced just for this project. and then our charred pine finish for the door faces and drawer faces. And the charred pine really comes to life as the light changes across the day. This pantry we created by using one of our Frankfurt panel systems with fluted glass, and that created the volume for the space. And then we continued all the same finishes from the kitchen into this area. So we've got microwave hidden up above, more storage below for entertaining, and then a functional pantry here that follows uses the same design as our refrigerator door that you see repeated 3 times in the space. This arched bronze door leads us from the public areas in the apartment back to the bedrooms. The doors work really, really well for light and sound and architecture. I think they're a really strong element for us. And then they lead us into the bedroom proper, where we use the same walnut and gunmetal framework that we've used in every other space where we have the air conditioning unit. Here we kept everything symmetrical, so we have those flanking the headboard, surrounding the bed, and then layered in front of the walnut walls are these high gloss lacquered nightstands that we built using our same collector shelving hardware and accessories to create these furniture pieces. This wall becomes our primary storage wall for both me and my wife, but we really didn't want to see a lot of hardware or articulate anything too much here. So all the doors are pivot doors, and we did a sort of a grown-up version of our collector's pull and do them as full height door holes here. So they line from bottom to top of the doors, and they're just a little sort of piece of like jewelry moment in the space. In the primary bath, we're using really the same finishes that we have seen in other places in the apartment, right? Same charred pine wood that we saw in the kitchen makes its way into this custom vanity with our stone top and integral sinks. The same bronze finish that's in the drawer pulls also wraps around and creates these mirrors, creates all the defining sort of architectural transitions between dissimilar materials. And then the charred pine is pulled into the walls again in a vertical installation. In this bathroom, we did an installation of our drop lights that we hadn't done before. We engineered a canopy that actually got installed up above the sheetrock so that we could have the lights and the stems of light just piercing straight through the sheetrock without any of the sort of large canopy that you would normally see. And then for the lenses on these lights, we actually had a friend machine selenite crystals down to fit inside of our bronze fittings. And so that the light really is meant to be more of a mood and ambient light than a strong light source. So these are really a perfect application for this room. So when we were doing demolition, we were able to find some extra space in here, and we created this little niche. So it was a great opportunity for us to take some of the elements that we'll do in large installations for our collector shelving and break them into smaller components here. So this little storage caddy down here has our sliding walnut doors and bronze framework around it. Above that, we've got some towel bars that are made from our standard fittings, and then some cantilever glass shelves. If you have questions about any of the things you saw, any questions about how things are made, any more of the design resources, please feel free to give us a call. We've got a team in Philadelphia that loves to work on these types of projects.